everybody, welcome to Analog Stick Radio, episode 14.
Hello.
We are live once again, and we are. I'm your host, Mitch. I'm joined here today by my lovely co-hosts. We have Chris in the middle.
Hi.
And we have Dakota all the way over the end, sporting a very fashionable beanie.
Hi.
Yeah, if you can't see this beanie, I definitely suggest you come by, stop by the Twitch chat, and take a look at this beanie, because it's just pretty fantastic. So how you guys doing this week? Let's talk about games. Let's talk about what we did this week, game-wise.
Yeah.
Chris.
Well, this week for video games, I planned on playing a bunch this weekend because it was my first weekend off school, but that did not happen as my girlfriend was not finished with school and needed to utilize it for homework purposes. So I wanted to plan on getting through The Walking Dead, but I didn't. I ended up just playing on my phone, actually on my tablet rather. I spent this weekend playing Vainglory. Have you?
Oh yes.
You've played that. It's
this game.
It's a MOBA, right?
It's a MOBA. Yeah. It's a mobile MOBA. And it's a 3v3, and it's exactly like your traditional MOBA. You only have one lane, though, and you have a large jungle. And what's interesting is in that jungle, you kill the minions. You don't get buffs, but there's specific minions you kill that are mining minions. So if you kill them, they'll come for your team, and so you'll get a income of gold.
I'll come for your team, Chris.
Yes.
Go on.
But yeah, so you get a bunch of gold, and that's what you use to buy items. So you fight over control the jungle to get more income that way, and then you're also pushing the top lane, the one single lane back and forth. It's pretty fun.
It's a very, very interesting take on MOBAs. Playing with your fingers is kind of weird.
Yeah, the thing about it is it takes the matches last as long as a traditional MOBA. Like, they're not even as short as Heroes of the Storm MOBAs. They're really long. They're like 20 minutes. So there's a game that's out for iOS that I really want to play. It's called 5 Minute MOBA. And the game lasts no longer than 5 minutes.
That's on the iOS?
Yeah, and
I gotta check that out.
There's no minions, right? But the way that you attack the enemy tower is there's like a ball, I think, in each of the two lanes, and you push the ball towards the tower, and once the ball is by the tower, you can attack it then.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like a 3v3, so you're kind of just pushing these two lanes, the ball in the lane, but you're pushing with yourself. And at the end of the match, depending on who destroyed more towers, even if you didn't destroy the enemy's core, that's who wins. I'm not sure what they do in a tie. Like I said, I haven't played it. But to me, that would make a much better MOBA game. This one was a lot of fun, but it just takes too darn long. It was good for this weekend when I had nothing to do, but I can't see me playing it too much on the go.
Nice. I used to play a mobile MOBA a couple of years ago. It was 100% the best time I've ever had on a toilet at my my second job, and I played it every damn time I went to the bathroom. I'd be like, all right, gonna have another match. I wish I knew what it was called, so I could say so, but I can't remember. I'll have to check out that 5 minute moment.
Moot point.
Yeah, it is.
Great. What about you, Dakota? What'd you play this week?
This week I played a little bit of Nuclear Throne for the PlayStation 4. It just came out. It's been in early access, or what does Steam call theirs? Greenlight? Steam Greenlight?
Yeah, Greenlight.
For quite a while on the PC. I had never played it before it was officially released, and I just got to it now. It's good. It's a twin stick shooter, kind of in the vein of Binding of Isaac.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's
like
super hard. Yeah, it's got those tendencies where it's very punishing. It's really hard. The levels and the drops are pseudo-random. Yeah. Differences between it and Binding of Isaac is it doesn't rely on poop jokes to be funny, which I think is a big plus. Not that there's anything wrong with poop jokes, but Binding of Isaac is kind of a one-trick pony. No. And I think it's a bit harder than Binding. You don't like? Am I offending?
No, Binding of Isaac is
offending me really hard right now.
I feel like Binding of Isaac. How can you? Binding of Isaac is really dark. It's chock full of dark humor. The poop jokes are there to lighten it up a little bit.
I guess. What's dark about it?
The whole game makes you really you're almost like pseudo depressed. You're just like, God, wow, this guy's life.
I'm really depressed.
I'm
really
sure
awful.
that it was really okay. Just different strokes, I guess. I thought Binding of Isaac tried way too hard to be super offensive and whatever. That's not the point. Binding of Isaac's tone aside, I think that it's not a very fun game because it's easy, and once you figure out like what to do, it's trivial. It's like you go in, you get the right power ups, and then you just like dump turds on all the enemies, literally, and so you can run through the game pretty quick. I played Nuclear Throne. Christ, I played Nuclear Throne.
That's George W. Bush in here right now.
I know. For like 6 or 7 hours over the weekend, and I didn't get past the third world. It's freaking hard. It's got full 360 range of firing, unlike Binding of Isaac. And
can't get past
there are so many guns in this game. Like I probably saw like 20% of the guns available, and there's tons. There's like shotguns, pistols, machine guns, SMGs, assault rifle. Pop guns, laser pistols, photon guns, grenade launchers, crossbows, disc saw blades, and those are just like the normal ones. Then you go deeper and deeper. It's good. I would recommend it. It's cheap, so it's worth it. I don't think it would be worth like a good $20, but it's up for $11.99 right now, and it's definitely worth $11.99.
IB Big Lou wants to know if this game is Borderlands style.
Nothing like Borderlands whatsoever. It's top down 2D, so it's up down left right movement. Well, it's all 360 degrees movement, but it's 2D.
I've been playing a metric shitload of Rocket League this week. I think, Dakota, I was telling you, I've been really, really trying to practice my aerials. I'm getting really good at them. And then, we obviously... Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm actually in the air a lot more. I'm like less like afraid to make the jumps now. I'm just like taking every shot, and even though I don't make them, I'm still like flying around like an idiot. So that's always fun.
It's super important.
And it's worth mentioning that right now Rocket League is having a really sweet like snow day event going on.
I like it a lot.
We actually just played some, the three of us.
Yeah.
You basically just push around a hockey puck. It doesn't really bounce around a lot. You're honestly playing more on the wall than anything else, but it was a really interesting and fun game mode. You push around a hockey puck instead of a ball. It's very fun. Definitely check it out.
That game is every time that game Psyonix does something for Rocket League, I am reminded that it's the best game that's been released this year. That game is amazing, and everything that they do, they care about that game so much. They're so invested in keeping it fun and fresh, and the ice map is no exception.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Chris had ever said it wasn't a day one buy, but I mean,
You know what?
Just poking fun at Chris for his Overwatch critiques.
Yeah. We know. We get it.
I'm reminding people that don't realize that you're an ornery old man when it comes to video games, so I want to make sure that, newcomers to the show realize Chris is that ornery old stickler of an old man who needs them to spoon-feed you bags of gold with the game. Otherwise, it's not done, and he doesn't want to pay for it.
Wow.
Chris,
closing thoughts?
I'm going to
Chris,
save these
any
people
response?
from it. And you know what? I'm going to move us on. Let's get to the main topic.
All right, let's move over to the main topic. Give me 1 sec.
All right. Well, this week on Analog Stick Radio, we're going to talk about remasters, re-releases, reboots with the coming-ins of Final Fantasy VII's remake. We talked about it last week, at the PlayStation Experience Expo, would it be called? So
something like that.
I think it's just called the PlayStation Experience. They don't want to call it an expo because they're too cool.
Yep.
So everybody was all up over that game. Final Fantasy. Final Fantasies are big. But there's a remake. What are remakes? A remake is when a game gets remade, redone, built from the ground up to basically make the same game, maybe in better graphics, maybe with some tweaked gameplay. This is a little bit different than when they remaster games, in which they usually they just tweak the graphics a little bit. They use the same base game from before, redo the graphics, maybe add some new a new map, some new content, perhaps maybe a couple new maps for the multiplayer, take out some bugs, really refine it. update it for the more recent era. And we're even actually going to talk a little bit, I think, into some reboots. And that's when they take an old game, totally rewrite the whole story, bring it from the ground up again, new system, new graphics, new game, and just redo it like ground up. Like, you can think of maybe the new RoboCop movie, right?
Yeah, that's a very good example.
I don't know why that's the first one I thought of, but that was it.
So what you're saying is a remake is the one where they just update the graphics and they don't really do much, and the remaster is the one where they kind of tweak things? Because I thought it was the other way around. I thought
it is the other way
was
around.
I thought a remaster was more for updating it for graphical quality and maybe...
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, and
that's what he said.
Oh, that's exactly what you said.
Yeah,
Did I
that's what I
mishear
said.
you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Try to keep up, Mitch.
Well then, I must have had a stroke. Hold on, let me just check real quick.
Yeah.
And no, heart rate is relatively regular.
All right.
So
Great.
Okay, we're good.
So, what about you guys? What I think a lot of people have problems with remakes and remasters. People sometimes think that they're just money grabs, which mostly I'd say for remasters, I tend to agree with that sentiment. What about you guys?
I personally, so my opinion on remakes and remasters and reboots for that matter, let's just get it out on the table now. I think they're all stupid. I don't think that they're necessary, and I do think they're all cash grabs. I think
Really?
that they are. Yeah, unless you're going from maybe like an N64 game to like a I don't know, Wii U game, like that far of a fucking expansion or
Yep.
gap in between, to where like the graphics literally were so bad. Like think like Tony Hawk 1 on the N64 and then the most recent Tony Hawk. Like if they just decided to never make it a series and they only had the one, and then they wanted to re-release it on like the Wii U and maybe even PS4 and Xbox, that seems fine because the graphics on that game were abysmal compared to the graphics we have now. So okay, let's go ahead and remake and or remaster that based on the controller schemes we have, based on the graphic qualities we have. But like things like I don't know, I can't even think of like the good remaster or remake.
Ignoring the fact that the latest Tony Hawk was an unplayable, buggy piece of shit.
Yeah, it's for real. That was a very interesting.
I could hear it on the tip of your tongue, Chris.
Not only that, it was episodic. You picked an episodic game series for like.
Well, he
that's
said
interesting.
ignore it.
No,
I
I understand what
was
you
just
mean, but that's
trying
just just interesting. That like that's a different kind of almost monster that we haven't even talked about. But go ahead, Dakota.
Mitch, if you were to so obviously you're not generally in favor of remakes of any kind, but if you were to like define criteria for when they are acceptable or appropriate, what do you think they would be?
If it was kind of like a beloved game,
okay.
I guess like my criteria can be defined by a perfect example. If they remade Ocarina of Time, that would be beautiful. Well, because that's a game that's beloved by a lot of the community. It saw a lot of play in its heyday and still sees a lot of play now. And the graphics and the gameplay style, like the controller makeup, is so different from what we have now that they would kind of need to tweak it a little bit to make more sense for current like contemporary controllers.
You know, they remastered it on the 3DS.
Oh, did they?
Yep, they did.
Yeah, they.
Well, then see,
did
there we
very
go.
recent-
Nintendo,
but it
we're on the
wasn't-
same page.
But it wasn't remade. It was a remaster. They updated the graphics. It was HD graphics. They used the same base game. Everything's the same. All the dungeons. I think they might have tweaked the dungeons a little bit, like maybe moved some rooms around. But overall, it's the same exact game. Same storyline, maybe HD, whatchamacallit, HD sound bites, stuff like that. But I agree that was a you like that
The
snapping?
sound gigabytes are
Yeah,
HD.
10 gigabytes, the gigawatts. The
Them gigawatts. But that's what I mean. Like,
I
that's
feel
the
like
kind
that
of
was
game
agreed.
that I could see them doing, like a cool thing that they did with Final Fantasy VII, where they take what you know of Final Fantasy VII, where we know the turn-based combat system, and they seemingly make it more of like an action-based combat system. And I think if they did that for Ocarina of Time, maybe made it like instead of like as cartoony and like childish as it looked, maybe make it like badass and more realistic because the story is fucking amazing. and then make like the puzzles and like the dungeons a little bit darker, and maybe give it more of a mature feel, and give the gameplay a little bit more of like an action-y based gameplay. That's something I could see them doing. Do I want them to do it? No, but that is at least something I go, okay, this is acceptable. This is a game that's like 20 years old.
I almost disagree with you there. At the time, it was pretty, like, it wasn't really cartoony and childish. Like, it was pretty dark, like the Shadow Temple and stuff. Like, I mean, it wasn't like, blood was splurting out every time you poked a guy in the head, but...
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII definitely had some mature themes, but...
Oh, not saying...
I'm talking about Ocarina.
Oh, Ocarina.
Yeah, like if they did that with Ocarina of Time, it wasn't obviously like happy-go-lucky, some dance game or whatever, but it was relatively like childish. It was marketed to us at like age 12 and 14 and whatnot, so they couldn't really slap like a 17 plus badge on it, so they made it like a little...
Well, you're going against like... That's for Nintendo. Like, this is a Nintendo game. Like, that's how they do. They kind of do it in the Pixar, realm where it's for everybody. So they're not going to go that far.
Yeah, but but using the same, so I think that they should or ought to remake games like that, not for the same reasons, but because they're targeted at a very specific demographic. They're targeted at younger players, younger gamers. We were obviously way younger when Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask came out, but we were of the demographic at the time. We're not now. So if they were to remake those games now, they wouldn't be for us, assuming that we hadn't played them before. We are able to enjoy them now because we have sentiment for them, nostalgia. Right. But I think a reason that they should be remaking games, one of the reasons in favor of remaking games, is so that they can retarget the demographic. Because there's new people. Yeah, exactly. The demographic's the same. 12 to 15-year-olds or 10 to 15-year-olds for a game like that. But there's a whole slew of new people in that demographic that weren't even alive when the original game came out. And so to remake a game like that, release it now, that provides a whole new generation of gamers the same experience that we enjoyed.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, there's also something to be said about, well, shouldn't they just keep making good games? And Zelda's a really good example of this, because it's been some time since we had like a solid 3D Zelda, right? They kind of took a step back and went back to handheld almost exclusively with the last couple of releases. We haven't had a 3D since what's it called? Shadow. What's it called? With what's it called? The latest Zelda game. You turn into a wolf.
Twilight. That wasn't
Twilight
the latest.
Princess.
Latest was the Skyward Sword.
Was that 3D?
Was that? Yeah, that was on the Wii U.
Nobody cares
Wii.
About the Wii U, Chris.
The Wii. Oh,
Chris,
you're absolutely right.
Chris is the only person that cares about the Wii U, like, hands down. Him and his Splatoon, he's just sitting there running around and no one's playing with him. It's painting walls.
But actually, you bring up an interesting point, Chris. That's another reason why remaking games is valuable. I didn't even know about Skyward Sword. That's like a legitimate, like, several temples full Zelda experience.
It's a whole Zelda experience. Everybody really liked that one.
That's crazy. I feel like I'm out of the loop because of the platform it's on. Like, being on an unsuccessful platform, again, further diminishes the demographic that you can target with your game release. And that's actually one of the failings of, well, it's Nintendo's issue entirely with the Wii and the Wii U, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think they have to go through all the work to remake these games. I think for situations like that, a remastering of the game works just fine. Recently, I think in August, they put a bundle of the first 3 Gears of War games out on Xbox One, right? And you'd be like, oh, what? Gears of War just came out. It really didn't. Like, the first Gears of War, I think, came out in like 2006 or 2007 or something.
It's quite a while ago now, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty old game at this point.
And also, Mitch, you recently bought your PlayStation 4. Wasn't that an Uncharted bundle?
Yes. Oh my God, the fucking Uncharted remaster. Oh my God.
Well,
it is
before
not
you
good.
Okay. Well, before
I'm sorry, you just reminded me of how bad it is. Sorry, go ahead.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, games like that, even though it's a generation, it's the next generation, if you bundle all those games into one package, I feel like that's a great use of taking time out to. I don't think it's a money grab there in particular when especially for that Gears of War series, because it's got 3 different games. It has the whole storyline and it's on the new console. I don't like it when they remaster a game in the same console generation.
That's the dumbest thing in the world. Why would you even do that?
They actually did that. They did it on the topic of Gears of War. They did it with Gears of War. I think they added 1 and 2 together. I think before the 3rd one came out or something in one pack. I might be saying that off the top of my head.
I wasn't saying that they don't do it. I'm just saying that seems stupid. Yeah. Why would you do that?
They do that sometimes.
That's a very obvious use case right there. I mean, bundling games together is nothing crazy or new or I don't think that this is why the definitions we need to be very very clear on, because like bundling 2 games together and releasing them as a package for less money, that's just providing purchasers and consumers an easier way to digest a game.
I completely agree. But when they add the thing newly remastered with enhanced, like when they release Star Wars every other time, they're adding all the 3D effects on there. They're spending extra work and trying to get promoted as something that you need because you're missing out of the full experience unless you get this brand new version, when it could be simply rebundled version of the last thing for people who didn't play it originally.
I guess it's all stupid. Personally, I don't think that like the bundle that you're talking about, this Gears of War remaster. I think it's just
the Ultimate Edition. I think it was called.
Yeah, like that just seems pointless unless like the remake and or remaster. I don't even know which one it is, but unless one of the two that it is are actually like relevant and like they needed a remaster, I think that's just a cash grab.
You're talking as a perspective of a guy who bought a Uncharted bundle PS4. You would have never played it
for the Uncharted.
I know,
bundle.
but that's true. But you understand, like you at least started playing the Uncharted 4 because you never because you never played it before. It was on last generation. You didn't have a PS3, right? Like that's useful for someone like you to have a remastered version who wanted to. If I had a PlayStation 4, I would have bought that bundle because I never played any of the Uncharteds. Like for me, that's good. I would buy it personally for the bundle. I wouldn't buy it exactly for the remaster, though. Would you?
No, see,
I don't think many people at all would purchase anything for the remaster alone. I think that's just something that they can possibly do quickly or easily or whatever. Until you brought up the Gears of War example, I've never heard of a same console to same console remaster. Re-release, sure. Game of the Year edition, Gold edition, stuff like that. That's very common. And those kinds of re-releases serve the same purpose that the Gears of War bundle does, and that a lot of bundles do, is they generate hype for an upcoming release, right?
Yeah,
the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection was released specifically to hype up Uncharted 4's release. 4. Yeah, so it's used as a marketing tool in that regard. It just so happens that the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection is a good example of a lot of these key points. So the one that you guys touched upon briefly is that re-releases provide publishers to give their game to people that wouldn't have otherwise had them because of console separations or console generation separations. PS4 just came out a little over a year ago, and so they know, especially because the PS4 is outselling the Xbox so well, that they have a lot of people who used to be Xbox owners who are now PlayStation owners. So they have a whole slew of people that have never played all these sweet PS3 games. And so they're releasing them remastered on the PS4 only, 3-4 years at most since they were originally released on the PS3. And I can see so I'm of two minds. I can see the value, but on the other hand, holy shit, man, we are in an era of remastered fucking everything right now. I don't think we've seen more remastered games ever in the history of video game anything than right now. Because of this whole Xbox to PlayStation shift in popularity. Last generation Xbox 360 dominated the PlayStation 3, but now PS4 is way out ahead of Xbox One, and so all the publishers are cash grabbing on that shift in dynamics.
I agree.
I think actually, but it has. I guess it would have something to do with the shift in dynamics. I just think it's in general that's kind of our culture. Like think about the movie industry. Holy shit! Every single like old movie you've ever seen is being redone again for like the 15th time, and that's just the same thing. In Magic, it's happening. Like they're reprinting every old set. We're just going back to every set we've ever been to. Like there hasn't been like an original set since like 2 sets ago. It's ridiculous, and I don't know. It just seems like that's our culture now. It's like our generation may be like the generation of gamers that's really we're at the heyday of gaming, the Nintendo, the N64, that whole era, like the Xbox starting. We were there for that, and I think now our generation, the one that they're marketing to, is in this weird like nostalgia, I don't know, mindset, and so all the shit we want is like all the shit we've had before from our childhood. So they're just giving it back to us all over again.
You know,
I'm personally pissed about it, but whatever.
I wonder if that has to do with the generations who've gotten into the industry nowadays, because a lot of the people who've created a lot of these original works, they were brand new, right? So now we have a lot of people who grew up on these works, get back into the industry, and they're like, oh, you know what would be great? You know what we'd all love? If we redid like a Transformers movie, right? So,
right.
yeah.
Jesus.
You know, so I understand the sentiment, and there is a nostalgia factor, and you do want to have something that you loved. You want to share it with others. And I feel like there's no better way maybe than to isn't copying, I forget what the exact phrase is, like copying is one of the greatest forms of flattery. Isn't it something like that? Imitation, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe I could understand the need for these, for a remake. I understand the need for a remaster to a certain extent, in the case of if you bundle it for a new console, I like it. I like the idea of remakes. Some of them have been very well done. One of the ones off the top of my head was the Resident Evil remake.
Resident Evil Zero HD remaster. Is it
No. That was the there was Resident Evil Zero, which is a prequel to Resident Evil.
Oh, is that a different Resident Evil?
Yeah, that's a different
remake?
game.
My bad.
There was a I know some of those names get so dumb.
It's a different. I have a list of names. We'll go over them soon.
No, the original Resident Evil that was released on PlayStation had the game fully remade for the GameCube years and years later, and that was one of the ones I bought, and it looked. For the time, it looked gorgeous, and they fixed some of the things. I'm not sure because I never played the original one, but
they remade a lot of that game. They changed camera stuff. They
changed
enemies.
Camera angles. They
totally changed where all the scares were, right? So that if you had played the original, you didn't know what was around the corner.
Exactly,
so that would be considered a remake then, not a remaster, right?
Exactly, and I want the remake. Like I love remakes. In if they've done enough time. How long do you guys think? If you had to guess, what kind of time span would there be?
I think there's got to be
a remake. Let's hit
for a remake.
Let's hit both sectors. So for a remake, Dakota.
For a remake, I think I don't know. I'm not sure that time has everything to do with it. But if we were to just speak solely about time,
I'm not talking about time solely. I'm talking about like time and just the context of the
time
era.
And space.
Yeah, time and space. Time and space.
Doctor Who shit. I think that nowadays there's less of a reason for full remakes for recent games, because I think the most important factor for whether or not games need a remake is how different the new game is from the old game. If they are very similar, you didn't need to do it, right? But if they are way, way different because of time and more importantly, like the technology differences, then that's a good reason. Like if somebody looks back on an old project and says, I really want to do the spirit of that project justice because the game doesn't necessarily hold up. I want to deliver the same experience to a new group of users or maybe even the old users, but I want to do it with the sweet development tools that we have today. That's a good reason to make a remake.
Yeah, I agree.
I also agree. Like, that's what I was trying to get at with Legend of Zelda. Like, Chris, you even said yourself, like, Ocarina of Time was a little bit of a darker game. Yes. However, the platform that it was on and the company making it they kind of didn't lend themselves to it being dark. So there wasn't like blood and gore. It wasn't really like a super dark game. There was still parts of it that felt like kind of childish and kiddish, and I think if you like redid that game and maybe brought it to a serious level, then it would definitely do the game a little more justice and help you kind of immerse yourself in how dark it is. That was my opinion on the remake there.
I disagree. I feel like that is moving into the territory of a reboot, that's where you take the story and you completely change what it is. Because in essence, you're using the words childish and kiddish, and I would argue that it'd be charming. It would be the word I'd use. Like, it's not childish.
But I don't want to touch the story. That's what I'm saying. Have the story be exactly the same, just like instead of like the over-the-top view, right? Maybe it's like first person or like over-the-shoulder third person, and it feels more like in-depth. You're more a part of Link's character. You're like right there with him, and you do it kind of like really somber and Last of Us style, where like everything's a little bit darker and it's not as like everything's not so like vibrant, and the trees don't look like cartoon trees. They look like realistic trees, and instead of everything being really bright, maybe it's a little bit darker. Like everything, like the whole situation is just darker. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not a game designer. I'm just saying that would be something that I would see like would being a good remake, much like Final Fantasy VII. I think this is the good utilization of a remake. I think, first of all, it fits the criteria of being long enough for a remake. I think it's been a long enough time. We all
where we
love
can
this
see
game.
the differences between.
Yeah, it's a pinnacle of PlayStation's gaming. Like 100%. Like that is one of their best games. And since the combat style before was kind of something that they did because they didn't have the technology to do what they're trying to do now, I like the idea of switching it to a more contemporary combat style.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I love Final Fantasy, man. Don't get me wrong. It is one of my favorite games, but I can look back with pretty realistic eyeballs and identify that game was pretty flawed in some ways. Like the combat was not crazy innovative. It was pretty typical JRPG fare, right? The coolest, most innovative thing about the combat in that game were the animations for the summons, right? I mean, they were just taking the capabilities at the time and just really flexing those muscles and going, look how fucking awesome combat can look, when really you were just watching an FMV anyway, right?
Right.
But like as far as combat systems go, whatever. I mean, it was fine. Even the materia system, while unique, it kind of led to character homogenization. A lot. My buddy like maxed the shit out of that game. He beat both optional weapons, and he said that when he was max level and he was just stat grinding, the only thing that differentiated his characters were their limit breaks, because he's going to load them out with the optimal 8x8 or 2x8 materia loadouts. And so the only thing that differentiates them whatsoever is the limit breaks. They can use the same spells because he's got them all decked out the same way, the same items, obviously. So the combat was just whatever. It was just JRPG combat. And so I'm perfectly happy with them redoing the combat system now. I don't know if I'll like this one any better. Maybe I'll prefer the classic JRPG combat. But I'm glad that they are trying something new.
Now, do you think that when doing a remake, that is something that is like that should be touched? Like, should they be able to touch the gameplay system? Should we be in an era where when you're remaking a game, not remastering it, but remaking it,
yeah,
should we try to touch the gameplay system? Is this something that we should kind of be okay with as a community?
Yeah, I think the game makers themselves, they have a difficult task. They have to balance delivering a faithful experience to the original, but they also have to update it enough to be relevant in today's gaming ecosystem. Otherwise, why remake it, right? Like we were saying, you want to be able to harness the new bells and whistles of today's gaming trends and development tools, and so they've got to balance those two pillars. What about you, Chris?
Chris, let's talk about how long before a remake. Let's hit that first because we didn't actually come to you.
For a remake, I need a couple generations, at least 2 generations of game. I feel before we can hit a remake.
That's
Because
actually hilarious. I wrote that down too.
really,
Yeah, that's what I had written down in
I
my
feel
notes.
like there should have definitely at least 2 generations, because by that time we have enough technological advantage and maybe a different way of looking at certain gameplay mechanics to where it could be different.
Gameplay
I don't.
preferences also end up changing in that amount of time as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
there
gameplay
could.
standards.
I'd prefer maybe a little like in terms of that Resident Evil version. I thought it was great for me personally because I had never had a chance to play it. And I mean, maybe if you put it on a different console than what it was on originally, it'd be okay. But I like the idea of at least 2 generations, so you could get a new take on the classic version of the game. And by that time, people who played the original will be able to, I don't know, like maybe experience it as they remember it. Because we always see it with those rose-tinted glasses. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I think of GoldenEye, I think of like perfectly smooth
Oh my god!
gunplay.
I tried to play that game a couple weeks ago, and I was like,
Yeah.
I can't strafe like this. What is
No.
this? What am I doing
Yeah.
with this controller?
That game is the ugliest thing.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, man, like that game was basically the poster child first-person shooter for the first console that had an
Yeah.
analog stick,
It was
Right.
It was amazing for the
and it only
time.
had one.
Oh,
So everything was totally different back then, as far as
Completely.
controls go.
And
Yeah.
then
So yeah,
for remaster, I'd say just 1 generation. Like I think if
Really?
if
One
they spent
generation?
1 generation, because they're
I
not
think
doing a lot.
nowadays our technological advances are so like small. Like the technology from the PS3 to the PS4 really wasn't like that grand.
And that's-
like it's okay.
agree.
The
Yeah, I agree.
graphics are like a little better. I will give you that. But
They're
like
better,
the
for sure.
technology, the controllers look almost fucking identical.
For a remaster though, you're just touching up the graphics a little bit, right? You're not, and you're like taking out some bugs. Maybe you're adding a couple of multiplayer maps. I think that's enough time for somebody who never played the original, maybe didn't own the first system, to maybe get in on it, get on the
All
ground
right.
for it, and if
Throw
the
it in
new
a
game is
bundle.
coming out, if the new
Throw it
game
in
is
a
coming
bundle.
out, catch
Okay,
up
fine.
on the story.
I gotta say, I'm surprised. I kind of figured that Chris would come in being curmudgeon-y, small pockets Chris, and say I don't like any of this stuff because it's
I
all just
know.
money. I'm
I
surprised
know.
to hear.
I know. When I originally thought about this idea, I'm like, oh man, I hate these ideas. Like everybody's getting money back. Like they're just pushing. I don't like the Halo remaster thing because
Oh
they
my
just keep
God.
throwing a new.
Jesus.
I feel like a new Halo remaster is done every week. Maybe it's not, but that's how I feel like it because I hate it so damn much. So I don't like the idea of it, but I understand because I've taken advantage of it because I don't always have. I like to play a lot of games, so I don't always have a chance to play it right when it's released. So I
Yeah.
like the remasters because that's usually when sometimes when I get a chance to play, or the Game of the Year editions almost. That's when I get a chance to actually play it.
Yep.
So I'm on there. Let's go. I feel like we could go now. What do you think? What were you saying before, Dakota, about some play systems, right? That you should be touching.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Like, yeah. That they should. If you're going to remake a game, that I think that most game systems in the game, combat system, navigation, whatever, I think it's all free game. If you're going to remake a game, there's a tacit agreement with you between the developer and the consumer that everything's on the table. Everything's up for grabs. As long as the publishers and developers are able to faithfully deliver on the original experience, like generally, how is this game supposed to make you feel? Or what message is it supposed to convey? Or how is it supposed to, how is it supposed to play generally speaking? Those are the things that the developers need to deliver on. Whatever they need to do to accomplish those goals, I think they should do. So that's all good.
You got to look at it like this: like if we're only doing it every 2 consoles, like gameplay mechanics, controllers themselves might completely change. You might have to change the gameplay mechanics solely based on just like the way the controllers look.
Yeah, possibly, especially
Maybe.
if they're.
I don't
if
know.
they're-
We seem to be honing in on like one controller, so
Yeah, it seems like most consoles have kind of established what they feel is the best way to approach interfacing, at least with a controller. But that hasn't stopped them, at least from. I mean, remakes between generation to generation are probably going to be rare because of that. You're not going to have a lot of differences between your platforms. Remasters are going to be way more common generation to generation because not a lot has changed, but not a lot needs to change for the consumer to expect the consumer doesn't expect a lot of change in a remaster. Kind of to Chris's point, graphics touched up, maybe a little bit more content. Maybe you're going to include like any DLC or expansions. You're going to bundle them all together and release them as like one fat pack.
As one, yeah.
Yeah. Let me go. That said, I do think that I don't know why something happened. Well, I think I do know why. I think it has to do with this paradigm shift between Xbox and PlayStation. But remasters are out of control right now. They're just nonstop. It seems that developers are focusing too much on remaking games, almost in the same way, Mitch, you mentioned the movie industry, that the movie industry tends to regurgitate ideas.
They're not really remaking them; they're redistributing them in a little,
they are.
Like tweaking.
Yes, and that feels to me, and you know, I'm speaking out of place because I'm not a developer. I'm not a game developer.
Yet.
I might be speaking out of turn, but it seems like a weak move just to do something like that when you could be making new cool stuff. I mean, doesn't every creator want to make new cool stuff? I can't think of many developers sitting around going, you know what I want to do? I want to remake the game we just got finished making.
Yeah.
I think that that's totally a publisher initiative, not a developer one. Because I think developer types are creatives, developers and game designers. They're creatives, creative personality types that want to make new shit. And so I can't imagine them going, I would really rather just redo what I just did. That's the last thing a creative wants to do.
I feel like it's less. They're not. I don't think there's a lot of remakes. I know that there's a lot of remastering out there. Like, what are some of the remakes?
I mean remaster. I'm not talking remake. See, these words don't really matter. I don't think
they do matter. How do you're going to call
I don't think they do. I'm in the same camp.
It's not remade.
They're almost synonymous.
Okay, so I misspoke. I meant remaster. Let's not like just have a semantic debate over the words. That's not fun to talk about or listen to.
Yeah.
So remasters, excuse me, are out of control. There's just way too many of them. So I pulled up a list. I'm going to try to read through it as fast as I can because it's long. These are remasters that have come out like in the last year and a half. Okay. Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition, Deadpool, Final Fantasy VII, Day of the Tentacle Special Edition, Resident Evil 0 HD Remaster, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. That's my favorite one.
That's like 8 fingers there, Mitch. Mitch is holding up his fingers. He's going to have to add like 4 feet.
I'm going to repeat that one. Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. And that's a remake of... That's not a remake of Kingdom Hearts 2, even though it's called 2.8. I think it's a remake of a 3DS game. Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection, Castle Crashers Remastered, Tearaway Unfolded, Dishonored Definitive Edition, Gears of War Ultimate Edition, God of War 3 Remastered, Prototype Biohazard Bundle, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, Payday 2 Crime Wave Edition, Final Fantasy X Remastered, State of Decay Year 1 Survival Edition, Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, Borderlands The Handsome Collection, Devil May Cry Definitive Edition, Grim Fandango Remastered, Saints Row 4 Re-Elected, Grand Theft Auto 5, Halo Master Chief Collection, The Binding of Isaac, Rebirth, Bayonetta, Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, Metro Redux, The Last of Us Remastered, Oddworld, New, and Tasty. There's been a shitload of remastered games, and I think that we need to speak with our wallets. Like, I think we need, the reason they keep coming out is because they keep selling, right? People are buying these games. Otherwise, developers and publishers wouldn't waste their damn time. You know what I mean?
So is the quaff with remasters or remakes? Like, are we okay with remakes but not okay with remasters? Is that where you're standing? Is that where this point is?
I mean, you don't have to be on either side of the fence for that.
So, for example, Binding of Isaac Rebirth, I actually love that because they did some different things. That wasn't a remaster. That was 100% a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was 100% from the ground up.
That was like the third time, right?
And that Oddworld,
it's the second time.
New and Tasty.
What they did was they did some cool things.
Second time they remade it, or second time they made it?
That's just the second time they made it. There was Binding of Isaac, then there was Binding of Isaac Rebirth. That's it. Those are the 2 games.
Okay.
And what they did was they added like. So in Binding of Isaac, you just really quickly, briefly, you pick up items, and then you slowly like pick up more and more items, and your projectile that you shoot out kind of gets augmented, or like maybe your character gets augmented, or your life health gets augmented, whatever. They added some cool combos that normally like you didn't really know how they interacted, and sometimes they didn't really interact like the way they were intended. They kind of fixed that in Rebirth, and they added some cool combos that they normally didn't have in the base game. So now the game kind of works more of the way intended. Like if you get one item, but you get another item that just literally cancels out the first one, they didn't intend for that to happen. So now when you do it in the other one, they kind of work together instead of not working together. So I like something like that. That being a remake, I'm okay with that. But these other slew of titles, if any of them are just like remasters, I'm right on board. I think it's too much.
I don't
Chris?
know. I like what they did with that Binding of Isaac Rebirth, but I didn't buy it because that Binding of Isaac came out how many years ago? Maybe 4 years ago?
Something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't. I felt like not enough was added. It was just kind of, for me, a shiny new coat of paint.
It wasn't a day one buy.
Definitely was not a day one buy for me. No. What I did buy was the Lamb of God. There was a DLC for the original Binding of Isaac, which added a lot of new weapons and stuff. I bought that because that changed the new game. The new remake, like it was a lot of the same stuff, but it wasn't enough for me to...
They added like new levels, new combos. They gave you all the stuff that if you didn't get the DLC, all of the DLC
thing was,
is in that.
And
they added new items. There are actually new things that weren't in the first game or the DLC.
Yeah,
this game.
But it felt like a little more DLC. I don't know. I haven't bought it yet because they priced it too much for me what it was.
Well, surprise, surprise. Now everything's back to the status quo.
Lay it on me. Come on, bring it on. I know you guys were waiting for this moment.
Quo.
Everybody was just sitting on the edge of their seat.
When's Chris going to be an ornery old man? Now's the time. No, I mean, I get it. I actually didn't buy it day one either. I thought it was a little... I was like, wait, they just... What? All they did was just this and that? And then I kind of looked into it a little bit more. I watched a couple people play it, and they said they fixed a lot of bug issues. They added a lot of content. They gave you the DLC if you didn't buy it. I mean, they did a lot of good things to it. They added levels. There's like a whole slew of like new characters. I mean, they gave you a lot of stuff. And so for that reason, then I said, okay, this remake, not remaster, I'm fine with this. So I'd like to ask you guys a question, because we did talk about gameplay systems being touched in a remake. How do we feel about storyline? Because I know last week I was very adamant about them not touching the storyline of Final Fantasy VII with this remake. Do we think that that's something that they should be able to do? Chris, I'm looking at you.
I think that they have some ability to do it in a remake to a very, very small extent, because when you change it up too much, a lot of these games that they remake usually are remade because they're very popular in gaming culture. They have a whole world around them, a whole storyline, maybe a lot of sequels. If you change it up too much, number one, it wouldn't make sense for the subsequent games, right? Number two, I think that's where the idea of the reboots come in. We could come to this very quickly after, I guess, we go to Dakota. But I think that they can change some aspects in the storyline in a way. I feel like as long as they add things that weren't previously there, maybe you could kind of think, I think almost like a deleted scene type deal, like maybe a side character that you didn't know something about. If they remake the game, change up the combat mechanics, that's okay. Change some rooms around, change some puzzles, and then maybe make a section where you have a character who didn't have as big as a spotlight in the previous iteration of the game. Have some more dialogue choices or something a little different. As long as the tone of the game isn't changed, the main outcome of the game isn't changed, I think that's okay. Adding a few tweaks here and there to maybe emphasize some certain emotional points, as long as it's done well, which might be up to debate, I think that's okay.
Dakota, what do you think? Storyline, can we touch it in a remake?
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think that the details are less important than the broad strokes are. However, obviously there's going to be like kind of touchstones, right? You're going to have like really important scenes or beats or emotional movements that you need to maintain, especially in a game like Final Fantasy, right? They're not going to go be changing, large storyline elements of that game. They might
Somebody
change.
who died is going to stay dead if that something happens.
Right.
Christopher, no spoilers.
That's not a spoiler. I've never played the game.
Now people know that in the game someone's gonna die. I was
That's
going
right.
into it thinking that everyone lived and it was a field of flowers that I could frolic through and I could care about every character. Now I know someone dies. God damn it!
now that we have that out of the way, yeah, you're not gonna find like sweeping changes to a game like this. They're gonna maintain the story, like largely speaking. Maybe what happens when you talk to some NPC is different, or maybe even what happens when you talk to a main character at this point in time, the dialogue is slightly different. That's acceptable. I'm sure they're gonna do a lot of that. So especially with this game in particular, FF7, I'm sure that they're gonna make a lot of dialogue changes because in the first game, we read the text, and now we're going to be hearing it. And so different words just sound better on paper or look better on paper than they sound out loud. So they're going to write the script as if it's a movie or something like that because it's going to be an audible experience now when it wasn't before.
Yeah, that's the part I'm actually most excited about. So that's pretty incredible. I'm very excited about it. So let's talk, Chris. You brought up a good point I want to bring up. Let's talk about reboots. What would you define a reboot as, Chris?
When a retelling of the original story, right? I think what's a recent example of a reboot? Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Played it. Yeah, okay. They rebooted Tomb Raider. They made a new Lara Croft have a kind of new origin type story for her. I think that's really interesting. I think that reboots are all right in certain situations. Maybe if they I could think of one of my particular favorite reboots. What a lot of other people liked was Prince of Persia. Did any of you guys play Prince of Persia?
Yes.
That was technically a reboot. The original one I think was way on the NES. I never played the original.
It was old, dude. It was like old, like Mac 2 style.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was old. It was like a side scroller, jumpy platform type game. They redid it for the GameCube era, I think, and did it where it's 3D. You're running on doing parkour on walls and like rewinding time. Very cool game. That was a great reboot. That was an old game that nobody had really. A lot of people had played it, but not enough, and they changed it to use the original, I guess, vibe of the game and translate it into something brand new. That was an awesome version.
Was the storyline the same?
There was like hardly any story to speak of in the first game. I mean, it's like this is a perfect example. Yes, it was very much like Pitfall. This is a great example of like when you have such a wide gap in time and technology between the two entities that it totally needed to be remade or warranted a remake because the game is not the new game. Obviously, is nothing like the old game, other than that it's a platformer, but it shares literally nothing else with the game. You platform, but now you're in 3D and you have a story and there's like characters with I don't know if they have dialogue, so I won't say that, but you have characters with motivations and a through line, and you have cool mechanics with the Sands of Time that you can turn back time and freeze time and slow time, and they made it a robust game that fit the climate of the era that it was released in. That was absolutely nothing like the game 20 years ago.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way they rebooted Tomb Raider. I haven't played it, but the screens I've seen of it, and I think I guess they came out with a sequel to it recently, right? Yes. So it looks phenomenal. I would like to play it. It looks great.
I bought Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. That one was called on the PS4. It was one of the first games I played on my PS4 after I got it. It's in 60 frames. The game is so gorgeous. It looks absolutely phenomenal. The original Tomb Raider came out in '96.
Oh yeah,
and the reboot came out in 2013. So again, you have over 20 years. Like it was a long time ago that first game.
No, I think your math is a little off.
Over 10 years. Yeah. Almost 20 years.
But I really like that. One of the recent reboots that I felt didn't work too well. Did you guys hear about the Devil May Cry reboot?
Oh, God.
Play that?
Yes.
No.
I feel like that was a situation where maybe they wanted to reboot it. I don't know why they rebooted it. I think two of the biggest reasons, before we get into that you could reboot a game, I think, is era change, right? Or like total, what's the gameplay type? Genre change, right? The platformer to the 3D, action style. Or maybe if the writers have kind of written themselves into a corner. Maybe there's been so many different kinds of versions of this game, or so many sequels, so much explanation of this world that there's not a lot more you could write that's intriguing to the viewer, right? And I feel like in that situation, a reboot will totally revitalize the franchise, and I think that's great. I think that they might have been in the place with that for Devil May Cry, because they were at the fourth one, and I don't want to give too much away for the fourth one, even though it's a really old game. It didn't really include a lot of the main character, right? It kind of changed up the new character, and not a lot of people really fell for it. So I thought it was okay that they tried the reboot, but a lot of people didn't like it because they veered too far from the character's identity. And I think that is a game that's really interesting to me because it rebooted at a time that it needed a reboot would have worked, but they did too much changing in the game that fans didn't like the way that the new game, it
wasn't a long enough time to warrant a reboot, right? The previous title had just come out. Like the reboot of Devil May Cry came at about the time that a sequel would have come out. And no longer, right? It was only like 2 or 3 years, maybe.
Was it? I thought it was a little bit longer than that.
Maybe a little, but not significant enough to change my point.
Yeah,
it was like right there on the heels of Devil May Cry 4, and so people were still very attached to the original franchise. And so what ended up happening with that game, I don't know why they chose to reboot it, but the developer team, the game went to a totally new developer. I believe
it did also. I think it went to a London-based one or an England-based one.
And so I don't know if that studio wanted to make it their own, and that's why they chose to rebrand the game entirely. But I mean, it was from the ground up as far as the characters were concerned, and there was a lot of bad. It was not received well, at least in terms of character. So yeah, that's an example of maybe not enough time.
Reboots. I don't know how I feel about reboots. I mean, it seems like a risky play. It seems kind of like it's just I don't know. I feel like it falls under that umbrella of like, we have no more ideas, or the ideas we have aren't fine tuned enough yet. So let's just do something easy. And that to me is kind of bullshit. I think that's kind of exactly where our generation is at, and I'm kind of fed up with it. I
don't think like, for instance, for the Tomb Raider series, we use the same old Lara Croft that we've known for a while. I think it was a great time in that genre's history to start with a new Lara Croft, have the same basic story, but telling it in a somewhat different way. I think that's acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I should say this. There are some good ones, but most of the time, to me, it seems like they're phoning it in. So we all have different opinions. It is what it is. We've talked about reboots, we've talked about remakes, we've talked about remasters. Let's move on to the Metabet, because I'm actually extremely excited and nervous because I know I'm not in the money position this week. So let's move on. Give me 1 sec.
All right, last week for the Metabet, Chris lost the Metabet, and he had to play Diablo, and he had to play an all-left character, meaning he had to select the skills in each category. Left click, offense, defense, whatever they are. Pick the ones on the far left. So, Chris, what did you play? How'd it go?
Like I said, I wasn't able to use my computer too much, but I did get on so that I could do the challenge.
Nice.
I appreciate the commitment.
I didn't play a lot of it, so I didn't make a new character because the way it would have worked is I wouldn't have unlocked all the talents in time.
Oh, sure.
So I had I played through the game as my my witch doctor. I beat it with that. I was playing a crusader with my girlfriend. I had a wizard that was like, I had played pre-expansion, so I got on that and decided to go through the expansion on her. So I played on my old wizard with it, and I mean, it wasn't too bad of a challenge. It was kind of like I didn't have as much fun as I would have because I wasn't able to like mess around with the talents that I wanted to do. But
yeah.
I mean, I got to use. She has an explosion talent that I don't normally use, and I was like, oh, that had some interesting things. There was one that was like, the more it, like, kind of sucked people in. Or maybe I'm thinking of the Crusader. Like I said, I didn't play too long. I played like 30 minutes of it because I didn't get a chance. But I recognized the usefulness of some of the talents that I thought were absolute shit.
Right on. That's cool. That's always a cool thing to do is discover new things about a game. They say in design that restrictions breed creativity, right? So your choices are restricted. You start to get creative with what you've got, and that's cool. I like that.
Exactly.
So last week we bet on King's Quest Episode 2, Rebel Without a Cause for the PlayStation 4. Recap on the scores. For those of you that don't know, the Metabet is the game where we bet on the Metacritic score of a game that's to be released. Whoever's closest gets to assign whoever's furthest away a video game punishment. So last week the scores were Mitch at the bottom with 80, me, Dakota in the middle with 86, Christopher up top with 89. Today, on the day of release, the night of release, in fact, King's Quest Chapter 2 Rebel Without a Cause has a Metacritic score of no score yet. So there's no scores. This is the first time in analog stick radio history. There's no scores up for this game yet. It's the night of release. I triple-checked the release date when I went to look, and today's the 15th of December, just like the website says. So I'm not
the 16th.
So.
Today's the 16th. Oh, my fucking date on my
my
date on my computer is wrong.
No, Dakota, you're still on the 15th because it's 9 o'clock there. It literally
just
turned to
hit
the 16th.
12:01.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
really funny.
That's right. You guys are on the East Coast. Okay, so here, it's the 15th. The game released on the 15th. I'm not sure what happened. So I guess as a early Christmas gift, nobody needs to be punished this week.
No.
I say we all get
punished. I think we
all
get
get
punished.
Yeah,
what are we going to do?
We fact checked, so we all
Let's
get
think of a
punished.
game. Yeah, let's think of a game we all play, and then I want to see if anybody in the chat can come up with a decent challenge for us.
We all play together. We play Rocket League. We play Heroes
Rocket
of
League
the Storm.
together. We play Heroes of the Storm together. We play
and I
Vermintide together.
We play Vermintide. We play.
So-
We could play Team Fortress. That's something that we all
No,
have.
I don't. No, I don't want to do that.
It have.
No, I don't want to do any of that. So what we're going to do, I think what we should do right now is move on to the next part. Guys in the chat, try to think of something. If you can't, we'll try to come up with something on our own. But you guys try to think of something, and we'll touch base back with you after we can... Oh, that's a terrible
God, I don't
one.
like... Let's look for more options. Quick, go on.
We'll look for more options. Quick. Let's look for more options.
Sub Meow says in chat, can only go backwards in Rocket League. Chris and
That's-
Mitch don't seem to be a fan of that.
No, that's too much. I know Dakota's been going for that backwards goal forever, so he's
Every
like...
time I can, I'll go
fuck
for
it.
a backwards goal. So we'll move on to what we're betting on this week, and we'll recap chat in a minute. This week, we are going to bet on Hatoful Boyfriend Holiday Star for PlayStation 4.
Yes, I saw
have
this
you guys,
game.
have you seen this game?
That sounds
Some bizarre dating game where you date pigeons or something.
Oh,
I don't know,
didn't hear
man.
about that. I thought that was out already. Oh, yeah.
There was a version out, and this is like the holiday themed version. It's Holiday Star. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Man, I so want to play.
Yeah, so I've got my number written down. I'm going to type it into chat without hitting return.
Oh, God.
You guys do the same. Hatoful
It's
Boyfriend.
on PS4, right?
PS4. Yep.
Yeah, the only console that matters.
Okay. So... Well, can you tell us what the first one was rated?
No, because I
Damn
don't
it.
know.
Okay. I didn't know if you knew or not.
Jeez.
Damn it.
Chris, is this gonna be a first day buy for you? Ivy Big Blue asks.
Oh yeah, 100%. I love pigeon dating sims. That's my genre of choice.
Okay. Shit. This is
I picked
now. I
it.
feel like I'm playing you guys more than I'm playing the Metacritic.
That's right,
score
man.
right now.
You're playing the real game now.
Yeah, I'm playing the
Yeah.
real game. Okay, I have my number.
Do you have your number, Chris?
I changed it like 4 times, but yes.
All right.
Okay, so
we
we're gonna
will
type it
put them
into
in
the
on the
chat.
count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh
Wow.
my!
Oh no!
Wow.
Oh my God!
All right,
no
so
way.
the scores from bottom to top. At the bottom, Chris has 77. Dakota, am right in the middle with 78, and Mitch is just above me with 79. 77, 78, 79.
We
That's
apparently all have the
unbelievable.
Pretty
same
good.
sentiments.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
So we'll see about this game. We're gonna have to think of a punishment for us to enjoy collectively for one of our own games that we play. In the meantime, I think that's it for us, Mitch.
Well, I mean, should we come up with it now? I
Yeah,
feel like
let's
we
come
should
up
at least
with
come
it
up with it now.
So I see one says heroes, so Dakota levels up. We can only play here.
I like that.
I
That
kinda
could
like
be a
that
decent
one.
punishment.
The
Like, we're only
backwards
allowed to-
though in
No.
Rocket League, as awful as that is, that would make things interesting.
We should. You know what? If we do I will do the backwards in Rocket League, but not all week. I'll do like a good 5 or 6 matches all backwards. Would you
How
guys
about
be
this?
down for
no,
that?
No, hold on. How about this? I just figured it out. If any of us are playing with any other of us, we have to be backwards. If you play on your own, you can play however you want.
How
But
do you
if
like
I'm
this
playing
one?
with you,
How do you like
Dakota-
this one? Play Rocket League normally, but any goals you shoot must be backwards. All shooting backwards.
Oh,
I
God,
Don't wanna,
okay.
I don't want to fuck
That's
with Rocket
awful,
League. I'm
but I
having
love it.
so much fun.
That's awful, but I really like
But
that.
like I said, I mean, I'm having too much fun with Rocket League to do this all week. But I'll do a large number of matches with some backwards
All right.
action.
I'm gonna try. I like this challenge enough that I'm gonna try to get some streaming and some videos of us trying to do backwards goals. I would like to get some sweet replays. So that's what I'm gonna promise for you guys. We're gonna try to do some backwards goals in Rocket League. And we're gonna try to get some sweet replays because that will make it all worth it for me if we can get some
I like it.
sweet
I
footage
like
of
it, I guess.
All right, so backwards goals. Drive however you want, but backwards goals. It has to be an honest attempt. Now, obviously, if you just get knocked into it, whatever. But honestly, attempt like I did when I was playing Hot Lava with the front of the goal. Honestly, attempt to make it a backwards goal. All right, guys. Well, thank you for sticking around for us at this long. If you haven't been to Bit Cultures, by the way, we're Analog Stick Radio, hosted by Bit Cultures. If you've not been to Bit Cultures, it's a pretty sweet website, bitcultures.com. We have a lot of different articles on there from a lot of different people. We have Dakota submitting articles on there. We have a couple of other guys submitting some pretty sweet articles. We have some video content. I think we actually now have a couple of like replays and games on there as well. So there's a lot of different things, very diverse. Definitely check it out. If you want to get in contact with us, our email address is analogstickradio@gmail.com. You can definitely, contact us there if you want to get into the. What are you doing? You're distracting the hell out of me.
Sorry, don't look at video.
Oh my God. Dakota was putting fingers up at me. I don't know what he was doing. Definitely come check us out on Twitch. We stream every week. Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern. What is that? 8 p.m. Pacific on your side? Yeah,
Yep.
So 8 p.m. Pacific. Definitely come check us out. It's twitch.tv/analogstickradio. If you want to contact us in any other way, all of our social networking is not only on our Twitch overlay, but it will be in the show notes as well. My Twitch name, Dakota's Twitch name, our Twitter handles, anything like that. Definitely come check it out, and we will see you guys next week. I don't know. We're going to be having a pretty special Christmas episode, so that'll be pretty fun. We're going to talk about favorite winter and Christmas or holiday themed game levels, game experiences, maybe festivals that they've thrown. So definitely come check that out. We will be here again on Tuesdays. Also, we're going to be doing a really cool thing as of now if we get some. This week we had a pretty awesome subscription or submission.
Submission, yeah.
From one of our fans. He did a very, very, very long overview of Bloodborne, and I read a couple pages of it, and it's very good. It's just very long, so
it's real long. We'll link it in the show notes. But if you're a fan of Bloodborne and you went deep on the lore and you're into how it relates to Lovecraftian old god stuff, he goes into all that in harsh detail.
90 pages of harsh detail. So definitely make sure you take a look at that. If you want to submit anything to us, by the way, whether it's just drawings of how stupid we look on stream, or interesting things that you have, maybe cool game replays from games that we play, like we love Rocket League and stuff like that, we will eat them up, send them over, we don't care. Analogstickradio@gmail.com. We'll check them out, and if they're good enough, maybe we'll even show them on the next show. I can definitely set up a little overlay where we can show your cool replay if you want to, or your art, or whatever it may be. But other than that, we will see you guys next week. Do you guys have any closing statements before I go? Dakota, Chris?
No, I don't. I don't want to talk to anybody anymore.
Oh, okay. Chris is done talking to people. Dakota, do you have any more seconds of talking or no?
Yeah. Mitch's definitely count for the closing this week was 9. And that's
I said definitely 9 times?
10 times now.
Oh, geez. Sorry, guys. I will definitely try to stop that next week. And we will definitely be here. But definitely check us out next week, and we will definitely be here on Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. We want to hang out with you guys. We want to interact with you in the chat. So definitely come stop by, because we want to hang out with you guys. We're pretty cool. We look really awesome. You probably look really awesome, so we want to hang out with you. Other than that, I'm Mitch from Analog Stick Radio. This has been Chris and Dakota, and we will see you guys next week. Definitely.
See ya.
Stay cussy, San Diego.